Thank you very much, and it is a great pleasure for me to join this amazing, insightful event, and I hope to be a valuable part for this. So let's start. A few words about myself. So I'm a senior solutions architect, and I have been working with Microsoft products more than 15 years. I would say that I'm adept and a big fan of these products and what they can provide us like a flexibility and amazing future variety what we can build. And today I'm going to tell you about Azure Form Recognizer and how we can use this tool with Azure Logic Apps and extract data and store this data in the Dataverse. So I promise that I don't have a lot of slides for today. I prepare some demonstrations, how to use Azure Form Recognizer, how to create this service, how to create a model, train this. And then we are going to create together an Azure Logic Apps flow and see how to proceed. Before we are starting with our demonstrations, I would like to share with you that document processing projects are not only about documents that we are receiving from our partners, suppliers, whatever. These are projects also about generation new documents. So when you will plan your future projects, please keep in mind that as we are growing, as businesses are growing, and a lot of documents are moving from papers to the digital workplace, this is very important to understand whole this process. And I would like to pay your attention that in these projects, we can split three main stages: pre-processing, processing, and post-processing. For the pre-processing, we need to understand fundamental things that will affect or have impact on our project. For example, we need to identify our inputs, where we get data, where we get these documents which we would like to process. It could be email. For example, our supplier can send us invoice or SOW or something like this. Or we can create a portal using, for example, Power Pages and create dedicated areas for all our suppliers. And in this area, they can upload these documents, and these will be our triggers for processing documents, and etc. And in the pre-processing stage, we also need to understand where we will store these documents and all extracted data. There are a lot of things that can affect our decision. For example, license schema in the organization. Some people can use premium license, and in this case, they will allow to use Dataverse. Some people, for example, finance departments would like to use just extracted data, and in this case, probably they are going to use SharePoint or something like this. So before you are going to implement this project, you need to collect all prerequisites that you will need. Then the main stage is processing. In this stage, you need to identify which tools you are going to use. Today, we are going to talk about Azure Form Recognizer, which is one of the AI service that can help you in these projects. But also you can considering, for example, AI Builder, which is a part of Power Platform, or you can considering Microsoft Syntax if you are going to use SharePoint and would like to process your documents inside of SharePoint, or other tools. Once you dedicate the tool that you are going to use, you need to understand how to create model, how to train and test this model. Then you need to understand if there are any validation aspects that you need taken into account and build this validation as well, and where you are going to store extracted data. And the third stage, very important stage as well, this is post-processing, because processing document, the main purpose of these projects is not just extract data. We extract data because of what? What we are going to do with this data? Do we want to create any Power BI, for example, reports to visualize this data? Or we are going to create any useful instrument tools or applications for our end users where they can interact with this data, edit, add new data, etc. Or we would like to create any approval process, something like this. So you need to keep in mind that once we process and extract data, this is not a stop or complete of our project. We need to think about other steps. So this is key steps. And before we are going to see how to create services and flows, I would like to share with you a sample of architecture of one of small project that we built. So you remember that for pre-processing, we need to identify our triggers or inputs. Here we have two different options. So our suppliers or partners were able to send documents via emails or to upload via Power Pages portal using their dedicated team, dedicated area. Once the document was uploaded in the Dataverse, we save initial data, for example, the file name, who uploaded or who sent us this document, where this document came from, etc. And the Power Automate flow was triggered, and this Power Automate flow did several actions for us. The first action was to store the document, the file, in the SharePoint library. And the second part is to ask or send a request to Azure Form Recognizer service. This request for processing document and get back some information that was extracted to the Power Automate flow. And this information that we extracted from the document was stored in both in SharePoint list in this case and in Dataverse. And this information was visualized using Power Apps Canvas app application to allow users to simply interact with this data. So this is like a typical architecture, but keep in mind that you can combine or adjust any of steps. This is like a Lego. You can bring additional blocks, you can modify something, but remember that we need collect data for pre-processing, we need to understand what we are going to do with this data, like a post-processing, and we need to automate this part for processing data. And as I promised, I do not have a lot of slides for today. Let's go to our first demo. Our first demo will be about Azure Form Recognizer, how to create it and how to use it. Let's go to the Azure portal. So if you do not have experience with Azure portal and, for example, do not have subscription for Azure, it is no worries. It is very easy to start with trial version. Trial version will allow you to use all services, Azure services that you can explore here or create resources. And this trial version will provide you this availability for 30 days and provide some credits. And only one limitation for a trial version in Azure subscription will be like an expiration. The expiration date will be what will be sooner. These 30 days you are using this Azure subscription, or once you use all Azure credits that are providing. And do not worry about resources that you are creating during using this trial version, because you will be able to convert your subscription from trial to pay-as-you-go subscription, and everything that you created in the past will be converted as well. So you won't lose any data or any services that you configured during trial period of time. Okay, so we are going to portal.azure.com, and what we need to do first, we need to create a form recognizer service. To do this, we need to press this button, create a resource, and let's find form recognizer. Here we are. We select the service that we are going to create. This is confirmation that we need to create again Form Recognizer, and creation resources in the Azure portal pretty similar for all resources. Probably several options, several fields could be different. First of all, you need to select your subscription. If you have several subscriptions, you will see the list here. I have only one, so I select this one. Then you need to select a resource group. If you have several resource groups, you can select the existing one, or you can create a new one. Resource group, it's like a folder where all resources you are storing related to this service. For example, we are going to create this Azure Form Recognizer service, and then we are going to create, for example, storage account. Then we would like to create a flow using Azure Logic Apps, etc. To store everything in one place, it is easier to create a resource group. So you can say create a new resource group and type here the name. For example, Dataverse Summit resource group. Press OK. And once we proceed with creating this service, press this button. This resource group will be created for us. The next important thing is to choose your region. As I am located in Bulgaria, this is West Europe, so it is better to select region for this service close to your physical location. Then we need to provide a name of the service. So let's say this will be like this. The validation passed successfully, so we see that this name is unique and we can use this. And then for Azure Form Recognizer, we need to select the price tier. For my Azure subscription, I have only S0 tier, which is payable subscription. This is because I already have Azure Form Recognizer service, which is using F0 plan, which is free. So in your case, if you are trying testing this service, it will be enough F0. Once you create one service with F0, you will be able to create other services with this plan. So you can select this plan and press review and create button. To do not waste time, I won't proceed with this create button. I'm going to show you already existing service. Go to resource groups and I have this resource group and I have this service, Azure Form Recognizer, which I created in the past. So once this service will be creating for you, you will be able to go to this overview page where you will see information about your service. The price tier, this was my first service, that's why I have free version here, and information where this service is located, etc. The main thing for you and for this project that we are going to create now is this part, key and endpoint. We are going to use in our flow in Azure Logic Apps the key here and endpoint. Using these two parameters, we will be able to send requests to our Form Recognizer service and get information from the document, extracted information. Okay, so this is Form Recognizer service. Once you create Form Recognizer service, you will be able to go to the Form Recognizer Studio here and starting building your own model or using any pre-built models. But if you would like to create a custom model and would like to not only create but also train this model and use this model, you need some storage where the documents for testing and for teaching this model will be storing. In this case, we need to go back to our Azure portal and create storage account. To do this, let's open this menu and let's select storage account. Here, all our documents will be storing. So I have several storage accounts. Never mind, we will create our own, the first. Again, we need to select subscription. We need to select resource group. In our case, we are not going to create a new one resource group. We are going to use existing one because all resources related to the Form Recognizer project, I prefer to store in one resource group. Then we need to type the name of our storage account. Let's say it will be KCH Dataverse Summit. And let's see if it's okay. Yes, it's okay. Again, select region, West Europe. And then we need to select the performance. If you are testing and if you do not need low latency, you can use standard one. Otherwise, you can select premium one. So I'm going to use standard one. And the last parameter I would like to keep as is. So let's go to review. Everything is okay. So West Europe, yes. And let's create our storage account. Once we create our storage account, the one thing that we will need to do is creating container. Container will be, again, like a folder where all our documents will be storing in this storage account. So this is deployment process. It took approximately 1, maybe 2 minutes, not so long time. And once it will be creating, yes, we can go to our resources. We can go to our resources from here, or we can go to our resource group, go to the form recognizer, and here we need to see our storage account. I don't know why we don't see here. Let's go to the storage account here. Here. We are in the storage account, and what we need to do is creating container, like a folder. Go to containers, and here we can create a container. We need to provide 2 parameters. The first parameter is the name, ksh, and let's say container. And the second parameter, the access level, it is very important for this project with Azure Form Recognizer service. We need to switch access level to the container. And we can say create. So we created our container, everything is okay. What else we need to do? Let's go back to our resource group. For an example, let's see existing container. Let's see this one. Once you create the storage account, once you create container, you need to do the last option for the storage account. Where is it? Just a second. Yeah, this one. You need to configure cross-region resource sharing, because if you won't configure it, this storage account won't be accessible from your Azure Form Recognizer Studio. For this storage account, I already configured this, and what you need to do for configuration. First of all, you need to allow this URL. Then you need to select all methods. For our project, we are going to use get and post method, these two, but I would suggest to allow everything here and put asterisks in these 2 fields, and max age is 120. Once you put this information here, just press the save button and everything will be okay. So once you create an, let's go back. Once you create Azure Form Recognizer service, take care about creating a storage account, and then creating container, and then configure cross-region resource sharing in the storage account, just to be sure that from the Azure Form Recognizer Studio, everything will be okay. So once we create everything, we can go to the Form Recognizer Studio and create our, for example, custom model. Of course, you can use any pre-built model, but let's see how to create a custom model. Go to this custom model page. I already have some models, but let's see how to create a new one. So first of all, we need to provide a name of our model. Let's say it will be KSH model. We can provide description as well, and let's press continue. The second step is to select our Form Recognizer service that we already created in the Azure. First of all, let's select subscription, because if you have several subscriptions, you will need here to provide exactly the subscription that you used in Azure portal to create Azure Form Recognizer service. So I have only one, it is easier for me. Then we need to select resource group, this one. And in this resource group, we have only one KCH Form Recognizer, so this service. We select this service, and now you are able to select API version. Only the latest one API version is in general availability, so I suggest to use this one, and this one is already selected. Press continue. And now on the third step, we need to provide information about our storage account and container where our documents for training this model will be storing. Again, select subscription, select resource group. Where is my this one, resource group. Select storage account. So for an example, we can use this one or this one that I already created, but for this one we didn't provide configuration for cross-regional resource sharing. That's why let's use this one. In this storage account, I have several blob containers. So let's use, for example, maybe this one container, or we can create a new one. Folder path, let's do not provide any information. And now we can review this. And if everything is okay, we can create a project. Again, it took a little bit, 1 or 2 minutes, and everything is here. Why we can see this invoice here? Normally, if you create the model first time for the empty container, in this case, you won't see anything here. Let's delete, for example. We saw this file just because we used containers that I already used in the past. That's why we saw here anything. So this is Studio where we can create and train our model. How we can do this? First of all, let's start with drag and drop invoices. The first invoice we put here. This is invoice, let's say, our template. And we need to provide information about labels in this invoice. For an example, let's say this will be our supplier name. Supplier name. So this one. Once we will put additional documents in this Form Recognizer Studio with this template, information from this left top corner will be recognized as a supplier name. And it could be 1 word, 2 words, 3 words, etc. So it will be a supplier name. And the same way you can use, for example, select anything and provide what this information is for. For example, this is address, this is invoice number, etc., etc. Additionally, if in the invoice or in your documents you have tables, you can create dynamic table as well. So let's see how to do this. Press plus button, select table. Select the name of this table. Let's say this will be items. Say create, go to items, and now we can provide information about the column names, and then we will provide information where data in our document is locating for this table. For example, the first column will be description. Description. Yes. The second column will be price. Yes. And let's insert the third column, quantity. Quantity. And additional column for total. So this is our table with headers. Now let's select the value in our document and press here. The next value, press here, next value, press here, etc., etc. If we need to add additional row, we can use this one. Again, bananas, and etc. Once you provide this information for the template, this information will be saved, and when you will process your document, nevertheless, how many rows this table will have, 2, 3, 4, as in our example, all rows will be processed regarding our template. So everything is okay. So we can see 2 rows. We can proceed with all the other data, but to do not waste time, I just show you how to do this. Once you complete with the template, when you select all necessary fields that you would like to extract and provide information regarding labels for these fields, you can train your model. I can't train my model now because I need at least 5 documents here with the same template to allow this model to train. So let's go to, for example, another model that I already have. Let's select this one. In this model, I have 5 documents, and that's why this button is active. I can press train. I will need to provide the ID of my model. This is very important because this ID we are going to use in the flow in the Azure Logic Apps or Power Automate, whatever you will considering for your project. And this ID should store somewhere in your nodes. I'm going to show you where this ID is storing as well, but do not press any non-meaningful value here. Description, this is an optional field. You can put some information about this train iteration, and also you need to select a build mode. What is the difference? If you are going to train this model for the structured document like invoice or like, for example, purchase order, you need to select template mode. If you are going to train this model for semi-structured or unstructured documents like, I don't know, like agreement, for example, you can select neural. This is the difference. The train process took approximately 5-10 minutes. That's why we won't proceed. But once you train this model, you can go to the models and see all iterations. And this model ID is the important thing that you need to remember and we are going to use. So, for example, KCH, we are going to use this one. Also, you can open and see accuracy of this model. You can download in JSON file information about this iteration and use somewhere else. If you are not happy, for example, with accuracy, you can modify, you can go to the label data Canva, add additional documents, parse or provide labels for these documents and press train again and see the accuracy as well. Then once you complete your training process, you can go to the test and test your data. For an example, we can add, let's say, this one here, and we can analyze. Oh, this is a pretty the same that we used, but let's see how data is extracting. So everything is extracted correctly here. Invoice number is here, and supplier name is here. Everything is okay. So you can test your model. And one thing, settings. Here you can see information about what service you are using, what container name, and what is the API version here. So everything is here. This is how you can create Azure Form Recognizer service, create all prerequisites like storage account, container, and create your own model, train it, and prepare for using. Let's go back to our presentation. So to summarize, first of all, we need to create Form Recognizer service. Then we need to create a storage account. Performance standard is enough. You should not forget to configure cross-regional resource sharing. Then you need to create a container. Remember that public access level should be container because at the default value is private. If you select private, it could be some problems with interaction with Azure Form Recognizer services. And then you can create your custom project and build your model. So we prepared Azure Form Recognizer stuff, and now we are ready to go to the logic. We can use Power Automate, we can use Azure Logic Apps. Let's see in our example how to use Azure Logic Apps. To use Azure Logic Apps, we are going to create a new instance. I already have some test flows, but let me show you how to create from scratch this flow. Go to Search Resources and go to the Logic Apps, and let's create a new one. This is a new one service. Again, we see pretty the same structure. So we select subscription, we select resource group as well as we selected. Logic app name, so as usual. Summit, let's say flow to identify. Region, West Europe. And plan. The plan for our case, it better to use consumption because this plan we will pay only based on consumption. When we are using our flow, we pay for this usage. Standard plan has its fixed price. So that's why we are going to use consumption. Review and create. Let's see if everything is okay. Region okay, and let's create. Once this instance is creating, I need to say that for our flow, go to resource, for our flow in Azure Logic Apps, we are going to use Azure Form Recognizer that we created. And what else? We are going to use SharePoint library where our documents will be storing, and this will be our trigger. Basically, the trigger should be not put information in the document library, but for our demo purpose, it could be. So once a new file is creating in the library, we are triggering our flow, Azure Logic Apps, and proceed. And in the Dataverse, I prepared a table, invoice items, and here let's say that for our demo purpose, we will store the name of the supplier or the invoice number we will see. So these are our prerequisites. And for model, we are going to use this model ID KCH. So let's create from scratch using blank. And the trigger for our flow will be SharePoint action. Let's find. And SharePoint action will be when the file will be created here. Upload. So when a file is creating, properties only. Yes, this is enough. Let's see what is our site. This is Power Apps Dev, Power Platform Apps Dev, this one. And the document library, document processing library. Let's select this one, document processing library. So this is our trigger. Then we need to extract information about the file content. So let's add a new step. Again, it will be in the SharePoint category. This one. Get file content. Now let's find this one. So once we trigger our flow, we need to take this content. Again, Power Platform Apps Dev and file identifier. For this purpose, we can use dynamic content as an output from our trigger. And in this case, we are going to use identifier, this one. Okay, cool. We prepared our two first actions. Now we are going to send an HTTP request to our Azure Form Recognizer to ask to extract data from our document that we are storing here. Let's select HTTP action. This one. Basically, we are going to create two HTTP requests because the first request will be sent information that we need to extract data from this document. This will be the first HTTP request, and the second HTTP request will get extracted information. That's why the first method will be post, and the second one will be get. Now we need to provide URI. To understand which URI we need to use, I'm going to share with you this useful link, and I'm going to share in the chat after this presentation. So here you will be able to find all description regarding Form Recognizer service, and you see this is the last one in general available version. So if we scroll down, this is useful content. You can see a little bit later. Here we see request URL. What this request URL includes? First of all, endpoint. And remember, I said that it is very important for us, let's open, to, let's go to our Form Recognizer. It is very important for us to remember key and to remember endpoint from our Azure Form Recognizer service. Go here and go keys and endpoint. This our endpoint, and this information we are going to put in this place. Let's copy this and let's put in the URI. This is the first part. The second part, Form Recognizer document models, this one, this is the static part, so we can copy from here. Let's put here. Then we need to provide information about the model ID. So in this case, model ID will be KCH, this one. So let's put information here, KCH. And additionally, after model ID, we need to put these two dots, analyze, question mark, API version, and provide information about the API version. At least until this is the important mandatory components of the URI. So this is complete URI, and that's it for this field. Other information like pages, locate, etc., they are optional. And here you can see request parameters. Only model ID is required, and we provided here model ID. Other are optional. What else we need to provide? We need to provide request headers. First request header is content type. Let's copy here and put the headers. For content type, there are a lot of variants that we can use. In our case, we are going to use application PDF, and let's put information here. PDF. We are going to hard code for this demo purpose, but keep in mind that you can extract the content type from the file from, for example, SharePoint. And in this case, you can use here dynamic content as well from here. But for demo purpose, it's okay to hard code. And the second header that we need to provide is subscription key. Let's put here where we can get in value. Value is here again, key and endpoint. Endpoint we got for URI, and key we can copy here. And let's put information here. And additionally, we need to provide information for body, because once we make this HTTP request, post request, we need to provide information what about the document from where data should be extracted. This information should be in binary. If we are going to provide just a dynamic content like file content, here it won't work. In this case, we need to go to the expression and first of all to use this function binary. And then we can use dynamic content. We get information from body from this step. Everything is okay. So this will be our first HTTPS. Let's save. Everything is okay. And let's test if it works correctly. So let's put here, upload here a document, this one for an example. Yes, this one. And let's run a trigger and let's see how it's working. So we successfully checked the trigger, and now we are going to see information. So everything is okay. We triggered the flow, we extract content from the file, and we make a HTTP request, and status code is 202, which means that everything is okay. This is successfully. So what we are going to do now, we are going to add some additional steps. First of all, we need to add additional HTTP request to get information, to get data. Let me show you some additional information here. So we are creating this flow. Let's see again on the outputs of our HTTP request. For the second HTTP request, which will get extracted information, the main URI is this one, because this URI include ID, unique ID for exactly this iteration for extract data. This information is located in operation location, which is part of headers. So this URI is very important for us. So let's go back, and for this HTTP2, the method will be get, and for URI, we need to extract somehow information from the headers, which is, I would say, a little bit tricky, because if you see on the dynamic content, we can extract headers only, which is not useful for us, because headers include not only operation location key and value for this, but also other data that is useless for us. How to do this? We can go to expression, and we can use outputs and provide information manually. So for outputs, we are going to use the action HTTP. And here, please pay attention that HTTP, this is the name of this action. If you would like to rename, for example, get data or send file, blah, 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 here, you will need to replace this here as well. So HTTP, this is not a type of action. This is the name, actually, of this action. So HTTP, this is action. What we would like to extract? We would like to extract headers. Firstly, let's copy it and put in the brackets and single quotes here. And from headers, we would like to extract operation location, this one. Copy and paste here. So in this case, information only from operation location will be extracted and put here as URI. And what else we need to do? Here, we need to provide subscription key. We don't need to provide content type, because this information will be just extracted data. And one thing which is tricky, we need to put here a delay, like a time bomb, because when we send the file for analyzing, for extracting data to our Azure service, the Azure service needs some time to extract data, but Azure Logic Apps or Power Automate Flow is going very fast, and if we do not wait until this action will be complete on the Azure Form Recognizer site, it might be that we won't have this URI for this step. So in this case, let's put 30 seconds. Everything is okay, and we can save. And what else we need to provide here? We need to provide just two actions: parse JSON, because the output of this action will be JSON file, and the last action will be add information to our Dataverse. Let's run trigger, because we will need to understand the JSON schema. So we put information here. Let's run this flow. And for this flow, we will need to wait a little bit because of this delay, 30 seconds. So meantime, everything is okay. HTTP 202, everything is good. And for delay, we are waiting. Let's refresh. Everything is okay for our second run. Yeah. Go to HTTP and see output rows. These rows we need to copy because when we generate a JSON schema, parse JSON, we will need to understand the schema to generate. So edit. Parse JSON, this one. For the parse JSON, we are going to use body of the HTTP2 action, so not this one, but this one. And we can use Playground to generate a JSON schema, this one, okay. And the last step is to create a row in our Dataverse. So Dataverse, add a new, this one, add a new row. We need to select a table. The table is invoice items. This is environment div, and the table is invoice items. This one. And let's say for the name, we are going to, for example, to store. Again, let's see the output of our schema. So here we receive information about pages, which we are not need, tables, which we don't need as well, but we need information about documents. For documents, we receive information about supplier, about invoice number, etc., etc. Let's extract information about supplier. This is value string, and this should be the first value string. So the dynamic content from the parse JSON action. And let's find value string. This one. And let's check that everything is okay. So value string, it is for, yes, fields, supplier, value string, everything is okay. And you see that automatically this action is become under the for each because we can have multiple fields. And in this case, every will be proceed. So let's save. And now we are going to test our full flow. So let's add additional document here. Let's say this will be 51st zip. Yeah, this. And let's run our trigger just to do not wait 3 minutes because I put 3 minutes in the frequency. And let's see. Again, time bomb. Let's see that everything is okay. So the name of the file should be invoice 51. Everything is okay here. We got file content regarding HTTP first action. The status code is successfully. Everything is okay here. Again, delay. Yeah. And for each, we have a trouble. Okay, let's see what is the trouble. Oh, this is regarding partisan. Something is going in the trouble, maybe because I just working very fast. But let me show you another prepared flow that we already have. For an example, this one. I think, yes, with pretty the same steps. And here we see that information should store in our Dataverse in this same table, I think. Let's see. Yes. As I understand, yes, this information is stored. So I will see what was the problem with the extracting data. Probably I did not copy all JSON schema. Probably in this case, this is an error. But nevertheless, this is an option how you can use Azure Logic Apps to extract data, to send requests. You remember two requests to extract information from the files and store this information in the Dataverse or in other resources. Let's go back to our presentation and see the main things here. So this is the link that I'm going to use and to share with you in the chat, where you can find a lot of useful information regarding how to create these two requests, how to ask Azure Form Recognizer to extract data, how to get this URI, unique URI, and how to get extracted data and proceed with this extracted data for your future actions. And remember how to extract this URI operation location, which is located in the headers in the output of this first action. Okay, and we have not so much time, but I would like to highlight how these projects could implement. This is not about implementation again. You remember this pre-processing, post-processing, and processing stages. And once you need to understand which type of resources and which type of storage, etc., you will need, it's probably better to start with discovery, with understanding the existing requirements that you have, how this system will scale in the future, and what additional resources you might need in the future to understand all prerequisites that you require. Probably you can start with POC or MVP to check and verify and prove that selected technologies are suitable for you, because as we discussed, for example, for extract data, at least 3 different products so you can use Azure Form Recognizer, AI Builder, Microsoft Syntax, and there are more products that you can use. Once you are ready and once you collect users' feedback who are involving in POC and MVP, you can proceed with implementation stage. And do not forget to collect feedbacks from your users and from testers to understand how to adjust, maybe probably apply any changes for to your project. And the last but not least phase is scale, how to scale this project to the whole organization, how to support it, and how to maintain in the whole organization. Okay, this is the full content that I wanted to share with you. Thank you very much for listening, and I think that we have some time for your questions. Let me see. Oh, I see a lot of questions, so let me scroll up.
Thank you, Katerina. Lots of great feedback in the chat there. Lots of great feedback and questions.
Yes, thank you a lot. Yeah, I see the questions. So, Fraser, thank you very much for your question regarding minimum or maximum documents that we need to train the model. So the minimum is 5 documents. Otherwise, if you have less than 5 documents, you won't see this train button. But as 5 is a minimum, I would not say that for the production version you should rely on the 5 documents. It is better to use 50 documents, especially if there are slightly different templates for these documents. In this case, you can rely on accuracy and on the outcomes that you will have for the for this model.
And there's some great feedback from Ruth mentioning this is much smarter than Encodian at data training recognition. Fraser is asking, can the model differentiate between the same report but different logo from the different company?
this is a good question. So if I understand correctly, the question is how to process images like logo. Correct?
Sounds like it, yeah.
Yeah, I would say that here we need to combine with other Azure cognitive services like custom vision or computer vision based on requirements. And in this case, probably this will be better option. For Azure Form Recognizer, the advantages when you have, for example, templates or when you have signs, digital signs, if you remember, when we labeling documents, we can identify what is it. Is it string? Is it table? Or is it a sign as well? So I think this is a case for Azure Form Recognizer. The next one, can the model differentiate between the same? Yeah, this is the one that we discussed. Yes, Joe, a very good question. Yes, in my model for this demonstration are the same format, style, yes, and place for the I don't know, supplier name or invoice number, etc. What happens if you have 10 different styles of invoices? Yeah, in this case, it is discussable, I would say. The one option, you can train different models. Another option, you can use in any other technologies. For example, I forget the name. AI searches, I remember, again, Azure service, but in this case, you are more flexible for different schema or different template of documents. Okay, the next question, how does this work to detect data of different languages other than English? Well, thank you very much. This is again a really good question. Microsoft support different languages, and I just need to check the right link, and I will post in the chat about supported languages for Azure Form Recognizer. So not only English, supported here. Yeah, I agree with the next one. Once we proceed with more documents, the accuracy will be higher. Oh, Ruth, thank you for your questions. What is the difference between Azure Logic Apps and Power Automate? Yes, in fact, they look very similar, and you can see that this designer and this history is similar as well. There are several differences. For an example, to use premium connectors like HTTP and Power Automate, you need premium license because these connectors are under the premium as custom connectors as well. In Azure Logic Apps, you don't need any additional license to use, for example, HTTP or any premium connectors. Another option, another difference is in the performance. If you need immediately response, probably Azure Logic Apps is better. Additionally, you can export Azure Logic Apps as a code and work with this as with code. For an example, you see Logic Apps code view and you can proceed with it. The advantage of Power Automate is you can pack in the solution Power Automate flows and deploy between environments as one solution. You can't pack Azure Logic Apps in this solution in the Power Platform solutions in terms. So yes, looks very similar, but based on the projects, there are several differences. And if you didn't have a chance to look on Azure Logic Apps, I would suggest you to explore this quite nice feature, tool, powerful. Regarding what is my opinion in document attachment integration between Dynamics 365 CE, dual write Dynamics 365 FFO. Oh, Fraser, I think this is a question I can transfer to my colleagues who are working with Dynamics 365, and probably we can discuss it out of this meeting, if you don't mind. Yes, prevent, confirm, yes, mostly about the license. This is regarding the difference between Azure Logic Apps and Power Automate. Yes. Okay.
Well, thank you, Katerina. Yes,
yeah.
we've come to the end of your time now. Lots of great feedback, lots of great questions. A lot of people are excited. Thank you for sharing your pattern for implementing the form recognizer solution for documents. That's really, really helpful. A lot of people are excited about that. So a huge round of applause for Katerina. It was a huge pleasure to host you today, Katerina.
Thank you very much, and I will try to answer on other questions in the chat. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you so much. Much appreciated. Hopefully see you soon. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye and have